for me, the state of mind was really two things. Number one was finding an alternative source of income, right? So I realized that I had to start my own company, so that my children, if they don't want to go the traditional way of varsity and then getting a job, I could leave them a legacy, and something to carry on doing after I'm gone. That was the first thing. The second thing was my partner and I in the business, my partner Karamba Jabi, we have really big social, call it, really big social desires. We want to have a social impact on the community, aside from making money. So making money is important, it's critical, yes, but having a social impact is also just as critical for us. So this was a good balance between the two at the time. Funding is always your biggest stumbling block, or at least that's the perception. I think for me, we knew that funding was going to be an issue, but we quickly realized that it's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is actually having an idea and transforming that idea or converting that idea into cash flow. And what that means is, getting buy-in from consumers, getting the ride to merchants online, and also changing the narrative in South Africa about online shopping. Online shopping is not as risky as South Africans believe it to be, and that's, for me, has been probably our biggest challenge right now. It's changing the mindset of South Africans to shop online, and we're seeing it convert, and we're seeing it change rapidly. Let me say, more rapidly than it has changed in the past. But it's still a very big stumbling block for us to get people to actually put their lives online and shop. And putting your life online means your personal information is there, your credit card details are there, all of that stuff is online, and South Africans are very risk averse. So at the moment, for them to shop online is a big thing. Never mind buying specifically South African made product. Look, COVID definitely had an impact. Anybody who thinks COVID hasn't had an impact has clearly not been living on the same planet. And anybody who's going to come out of COVID expecting the new normal to be, the normal that they know, also has been sleeping under a rock. What we've seen globally is 129% year-on-year growth for online retailing. South Africans are a little bit more shy. So in South Africa, the year-on-year growth is 50%. And in terms of the conversion rate, when we talk about conversion rate, we're talking about people that visit online platforms with whether you call it window shopping or whatever terminology you use. People typically get online looking for something, and then they end up buying. Some of them end up buying. So we call that the conversion rate. So that conversion rate in South Africa has grown by 8% over the last 3 months, which is also very good. That's typically an increase we see on Cyber Mondays or Black Friday type shopping sprees, and that's been happening consistently since April. Absolutely, it's changed spending patterns or shopping patterns, and brick and mortar has become obviously a little bit redundant in the last couple of months because we're not able to visit stores, or at least we weren't able to visit stores as much as we were used to. So that is, in a way, has accelerated the demise of the brick and mortar. That was already in motion. Now it's just kind of accelerated it. Having said that, brick and mortar is not dead, and it's not going to die anytime soon. But it will definitely slow down. What will definitely happen is, those retailers that rely on brick and mortar post-COVID are going to see a very quick death if they don't up their online game. If they don't have an online presence, they're going to very quickly be dead in the water. Look, we were already on the trajectory. So COVID has brought about a devastation, devastation to people's lives, devastation to families, devastation to businesses, etc. And although we say it with all of the sensitivity in place, COVID has also brought about it some opportunity, and that opportunity has undoubtedly been in the e-commerce space. Now, because we were already on the trajectory of growing, of growth in the space, it impacted us even more in a positive way. So where we normally see a month-on-month growth of maybe 20, 25, 30%, we've seen a month-on-month growth in this business of 300% month-on-month from June to July. The number was a little bit less from May to June because people still expected for markets to open like they were used to. So we've definitely seen an increase in business. So my answer is there was no real adoption needed. The only thing that we had to adapt to was trying to be turnaround times had to be quicker. Our shopping experiences had to be a little bit more crisp. Deliveries had to be made on time, and we had to sit on courier services a little bit more so that we would be put up to the front of the line. Overall, we just had to do everything that we normally do. We had to do it better. But in terms of affecting us or changed any business plans that we had, it really didn't change anything. It just accelerated the pace at which we fulfilled the already existing opportunities. Online transacting is not easy. Just because you have a platform and a product does not automatically mean you're going to get customers. It does not mean you're automatically going to convert those things to sales. So having said that, it's an incredibly competitive environment. There are a lot of players currently, and remember, you're not dealing with players in South Africa. You're dealing with players globally, because you and I can access the internet and go shopping on Alibaba and get stuff, shipped from China, things from Amazon shipped from America, etc. So your competition is not just local. What you need to do as an e-commerce business owner is quickly find your niche. You need to find your niche. You need to have a proper plan set out, and you need to execute it flawlessly. Now, flawlessly is a big word. It's a very serious word. It means you need to minimize your mistakes, and as best as you can, try to avoid any mistake. Now, we all know that that's impossible. So as flawlessly as possible, I think, is good enough. Now, having said that, once you find that niche, and you have an online platform that is world class, your security is all in place, and you have a go-to-market strategy, you should be okay in the current environment. Failing any of those points that I've raised, it's going to be a very steep uphill that you're going to climb if you don't have all of those things in place. Just to give you an idea, when Karamba and I started this business, we thought we were going to become profitable within 6 months. 3 to 6 months, we thought to ourselves, we're definitely going to be a profit-making business. We are now 4 years into the business, and we are not as profitable as we thought we were going to be after 6 months, just to give you an idea. And that's not to say that we didn't do things the correct way. So we had our platform built by some of the most reputable companies in the country. We had a marketing plan in place. We've got partners that are helping us along the way, but it's still very much a break-even business at this point. And we envisage to start becoming profitable later this year, but that is not after some serious hardships and some serious learnings that we've taken along the way. For me, the only danger is not taking it seriously. For me, the only danger is not. Oh, sorry. The danger is also not living this business 24/7. Remember, once you open an online platform, an e-commerce platform, your shop is open 24 hours a day. So when you go to bed, somebody in the US is shopping. When you wake up, you've got orders pending. You've got people in other countries or in other provinces across the country who have already placed orders and are expecting some kind of feedback, whether it's an acknowledgement of the order placed, or it's feedback, on a question that was raised because they want to order something but they're not too sure the colors it comes in. It's crazy the amount of questions you get when people are not really sure if they're ready to buy or not. So one of the biggest mistakes you can make is to think that you're running a 9-to-5 business. It's not a 9-to-5 business. So you need to put measures in place to ensure that although you do need your downtime and you go to bed and you wake up, you need a buffer. You need a plan in place to make sure that people are still feeling the engagement with you and the platform at all times of the day. There's an upside and a downside. The downside is that the old age saying that the customer is always right still applies. So regardless of the mood you're in or how irrelevant or stupid you think the question was or wasn't, the customer is always right, and you need to live by that. The upside to that is that you can determine that narrative, right? So when people come to your platform and they shop and they ask questions, and some are return buyers, some actually browse through the platform but don't buy. Every time somebody does not buy, gives you an opportunity to kind of figure out what it is that stopped them from buying. So the narrative is yours to control. The shop is yours. The customers have come to see you, and in coming to see you, they've left fingerprints of who they are and how you can contact them and how you can up your intelligence on your customers. The downside, if you don't do those things right and you don't acknowledge that without the customer you actually don't have a business, then you're quickly going to be dead in the water. I think it would be in everybody's interest to do quite a bit of research before launching their own platforms, and in that research, also ask as many questions or try to find as many answers online as you possibly can around why people buy, what are the spending habits, how do I become better than the next person, and if you can absorb, or if you can take in that information and use it to grow the business, then the sky's the limit. You'll never get it 100% right. Your e-commerce platform will never be perfect. You'll never get 100% purchase rate. So people, you'll never get a chance or a day where there's a million visitors on your platform and 1 million people buy. It'll never happen. All you can do is ensure that when it does happen, number one, it's easy. Number two, you're priced right, and number three, when they leave that platform and they've experienced the shopping that you gave them, that they come back for more, because that's probably going to be your most powerful asset, is return buyers. Your Unilevers, your Nestle's, your Kimberly Clark's, your SAB Millers, AB InBev. All of those large corporates today have a mandate, right? A mandate to support and help small businesses prosper. And in that is an opportunity for SMEs or even SOHOs single owned operations, for them to flourish. As long as you approach the big business is never going to come looking for you, right? Let's get that right. They'll never come looking for you. The policies are in place. It's up to you as an individual or as a partnership to go and chase Unilever or chase Nestle for the opportunity to incorporate them in your e-commerce strategy. We're doing that now, and it's not easy because obviously you have to adhere to big corporate policies, but it's surely going to be rewarding once you get it right. So my advice would be to continue pursuing them. As far as what the uptake has been for locally manufactured goods, look, the idea is noble, and the intention is to help small businesses grow. I think that's been our intention from day one, which speaks to that social aspect that I was talking about. But the reality is this: in what we do as RSA Made, we have learned over the years that as noble and as helpful as the idea, at the end of the day, consumers who spend money online or at a brick and mortar store are spending money that they have earned, right? It's hard-earned money. They ultimately choose where to spend that money. And if your product or your service is not appealing, or it's not priced right, or it's just simply something that they don't care for, you'll never come right. But we cannot blame the consumer. The consumer is looking for something specific. The consumer has a limited budget, and that limited budget for them is super important. So this goes back to my point about finding a niche. Once you can find a niche and something that people want to buy, then the conversation to support locally manufactured goods becomes easier and easier. The road thus far has not been easy, but we're quite steadfast in our mission, because this is not something that we anticipated will be won overnight. We knew it was going to be a long journey, and along that journey we make adjustments, and with those adjustments comes an increased revenue. When one starts a business, it's not. You always start a business thinking that you'll break even for a little bit, but eventually you become profitable, and very quickly, because that's how excited and invested and optimistic you are about your own idea. What we failed to acknowledge or realize at the beginning was that it actually has nothing to do with how excited we are or how much we believe in our product. It has everything to do with the support you're going to get and how relevant consumers think you are. So we went all in. He left his employment, I left my employment. We jumped into this entrepreneurship journey, and we had money in the bank, to last us a good 6 months. And in those 6 months, a lot of things happened, right? There was curveballs. There was additional expenses that we didn't expect, that we didn't budget for. There were peaks and valleys, but more valleys than peaks in the early days. And because of that, we lost quite a bit of money early. So I would say rock bottom for us was the repossession of assets, because we couldn't stick to our monthly obligations, and that's, I think, for us. And I want to raise that because in this country, it's very taboo to talk about the struggles. It's very unpopular to tell people that you have actually lost your car or you have lost your house, because not because the business decision was bad, but it was the calculated risk wasn't so well calculated. There was other factors that played a role, and so now you find yourself in a position where banks are taking cars, banks are taking houses, kids are being kicked out of school, that kind of thing. Those are realities that a lot of entrepreneurs live with daily, and don't speak about openly. So for us, I think rock bottom was the repossession of assets by financial institutions, and the realization that this thing is not as easy as we had hoped. Certainly not anywhere near as easy as we had hoped. But the silver lining was that it taught us a very valuable lesson very early on in this process. So yeah, it's that for me was probably the biggest lesson learned, that it takes if you think it's going to take you a year, it probably will take you 3. If you think it's going to take you 3 years, it'll probably take you 9. So just give yourself room to make mistakes. Give yourself room for the unexpected, and have contingency plans to make sure that not all is lost. The impact on low skill laborers, if you want to call them blue collar laborers, of not embarking on this e-commerce journey as a country is a lot more negatively impactful than it would be if nobody went online, right? So embracing e-commerce replaces brick and mortar. It replaces a whole lot of other things that we are used to, but it never attempted to, and it will never attempt to replace the skill and the labor we get from those individuals. So let me make an example. We have close to 1,000. We're on the other side of 1,000, so just 1,100 or something like that. Merchants online. We have helped a lot of those people increase their sales. An increase in sales means an increase in production. An increase in production then translates to, laborers having more work to do. So if we didn't exist, or let me say, if e-commerce didn't take flight and brick and mortar shut down, where would the country be? I hope that makes sense. In a nutshell, I don't think we have a negative impact as e-commerce to the skilled laborer who uses hands to build or to manufacture. I think our impact on that segment of the economy is actually more positive than anything else. Have a plan, right? Have a plan, and that plan needs to be executionable. So it cannot be pie in the sky. It cannot be an idea. Once that is in place, make sure that you have the right partners in place, or you approach the right partners. You won't necessarily have them in place from day one, but it's important that you acknowledge the role that partners play. When I'm talking about partners, I'm talking about logistics. I'm talking about your suppliers, so your raw material suppliers. I'm talking about courier companies. All of those things need to be in place, and if they're not in place from day one, you need to at least have a plan of who it's going to be and how they're going to get on. The other thing is, in fact, probably the one I should have mentioned first. Remember, South Africa, in terms of e-commerce, is a very immature market. People are still very reluctant to embrace this thing of shopping online. They don't want to leave credit card details. They don't want to leave physical addresses. They don't want to leave any of that stuff. I think if you can ensure that your security of the platform is world-class and approved by all of the financial institutions, then you're already half of the way there. And then last but not least, marketing of an e-commerce platform, or marketing of goods online, is not the same as your traditional marketing. You need to have a digital marketing plan in place, because you want people to go online and buy from you, and spend money with you on your platform, or in your online store. You need to market to the very same people online, right? So you need to have a digital marketing strategy. You you need to have a digital marketing strategy in place that will then speak to how you attract people to your platform. I think, and I had hoped that I would get some numbers for you before the call tonight. I just didn't have the time today. But South Africa alone, I wouldn't be surprised if there is 1,000 plus online stores, right? Whether it's Shopify or it's people with their own platforms, there's easily 1,000 stores online today, just in South Africa. Right, and already we're on the back foot because most people who shop online shop overseas anyway. So if you don't have a plan on how to attract people to your platform and to your store,